Okay, welcome to One Stop Co-op Shop. You're Steve, Bairnt, and Canje like normal. Hey guys.
Hey, it's good
Hello,
to be
hello.
here. Oh my gosh, we're here, Marvel United. I got my shirt on. I'm all decked out for this. I just got done painting up some Sentinels. We're going to be doing on our next playthrough here. My son's going to join me. It's going to be awesome. So this is like perfect timing. I'm really excited for this one.
And as you can probably tell, we've got an extra special guest with us this morning or today, depending when you're watching this. Welcome, Andrea Chiarvesio.
Chiarvesio, that's perfect. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here.
Told you, I'm sorry. So
So
bad
close.
pronunciations.
So close, yeah. I mean, in the rehearsal, you nailed it. So
Yeah, exactly.
But you
Rehearsal,
failed
it
in the
doesn't matter.
show. You failed live.
Oh, welcome. But yes, we are here to talk about Marvel United because you've been very involved with the design of that. So,
yeah, I would say very involved is kind of an understatement, but yes.
exactly. Exactly. Excellent. So, but yeah, we have a bunch of questions prepared, so we'll run through the list and talk about a lot about the design elements of Marvel United. But we are doing this live, so if you happen to be watching this live, if you have questions, we are watching the chat, so we'll bring up the questions and answer anything we can. However, disclaimer, these kids probably know, we can't really ask questions about the future stuff. So I'll put that out right now.
No future stuff. So those that are interested in finding out if there's an alien game coming to this universe, we'll have to wait and see.
Wait and see.
Exactly. Excellent. Okay, but let's get started. I always like asking people about who they are a little bit because who are the people behind the design, the games that get designed. So, what have you been playing recently? What?
Ooh, I play less than I would like to, but we've been trying at the office Arc Nova because like it's everybody talking about Arc Nova. It's a great, enjoyable game. A bit reminiscent to me of Terraforming Mars, but it's a great game. We played Beyond the Sun, which we enjoyed very much. And well, I started with my wife and a couple of friends. Pandemic Legacy Season 0.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Which is really like, yeah, I mean, speaking of co-ops. And so far it seems really, really cool. I mean, I loved immensely the other two, Pandemic Legacy, so this promised to be in the same footsteps, so that's kind of great. So I mean, I try to play the most I can. Sometimes it's not easy to separate what you play for study and work and what you play for just your amusement, which is mostly co-op games because my wife loves co-op games too, so we play a lot of those together.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very much the same here as well. I do have Pandemic Legacy Season 0 in Shrink yet. That's going to be coming to the channel sometime in the future. We're trying to slot that one in eventually. But yeah, I play a lot.
Looks like something we all have in common, Steve. We're all playing Pandemic Legacy. I know that Kanji's actually doing it on his channel right now. And then I have a Pandemic Legacy Wednesday, every other Wednesday group that gets together. Colin, myself, Brent, and his wife, and Colin's wife, Monica, get together, and we do Pandemic Legacy. We're on season 2, I think, 3/4 of the way through it. So we're not.
Ooh.
Brent and I have never played it, but Colin and Monica have played it. So they really enjoy seeing our reactions to things more than. Pretty awesome. But then after that, we're going to get the Pandemic Legacy Season 0. So, wow, look at that. We all got big fun.
Yeah, I'm going through Season 1 right now with one of my friends, and it's not going well, but we're on December. We're on December, and I'm not going to do any spoilers, but it's not going well, but it's turning around. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome.
It's fun though. We're having a blast with it.
Yeah. Oh, and if I may recommend, and I mean, it's not a full co-op; it's mostly competitive. But at the office, we are playing Clank Legacy, Acquisition Incorporated. I mean, it's mainly competitive. There are a few moments where you feel you have to work together a little bit just to avoid the world to be destroyed. But it's a very, very excellent legacy game. I would recommend it to anybody that loves deck building and storytelling in board games. It's a bit Terry Pratchett style, which we all love, and it's been so far really enjoyable.
Awesome.
Okay.
There is one comment that came up I want to highlight real quick. Flying Solo said, "Thank you so much for creating such an amazing game, Andrea. Have been able to introduce my family to board games because of the accessibility of this game."
Yeah, I mean, it's really one of the reasons we did it. So it's when we first met together with Eric and Roger, Fred, and Alexio, and we got the opportunity to work on this project. We wanted really, I mean, there are so many excellent Marvel themed board games around, and we wanted to do something different that really families could play together, that parents could play with their kids, and still give the opportunity to geek parents to play with their friends by like increasing the options, adding challenges and stuff. So that's the main source of the whole modularity of Marvel United. We wanted a base game, very simple. We understand it was probably too simple for many gamers around, but that is for the families. That is, I mean, you might probably know the game is a cooperation work between Spin Master and Call Me or Not. So we wanted a game that was good for Spin Master audience and also interesting for Simon audience. And that's where the game was basically born. So I'm always delighted when I hear this type of comments because it means that we achieved what we were looking for.
Yeah, I agree with Flying Solo. I think it's a really great game. I did not think I would like it as much as I do. It was I missed season 1 and season 2 in Kickstarter, but Steve actually talked me into giving it a shot, and from the first or second game we played, I was hooked. And then it just went oh, sorry. Let's see. And then is that better?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. And then I just kind of fell into wanting to play it all the time. I think after that first day, I ended up playing 16 games the next day, and then more and more. I drove over to Steve's house, and he had it all set up on his table, and he and I played a bunch. So I've been completely hooked on the game. I think it's a fantastic, fun game for me, for my son, and it's just been great. So yeah,
it's been funny because I'll be like at work, and I'll get a random message like, "Hey, you play Marvel United?" I'm like, "I'm working. I can't read out."
That's pretty awesome. I think they hear that comment more often than any other comment about Marvel United is, I didn't really think I'd like it, but then when you play it, you do. Because I think most gamers don't expect something that good out of such an experience like this. I think they they always think there should be more and more and more. But once you start playing, you don't need more. This is a great game from where it sits. And it's good for, like you said, all like groups, which is why it's so good. So, and I really think the Marvel theme, of course, is amazing as well. That also helps a lot, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, there's so many different ways you could have gone with this. There's so many different arcs. There's so many different books. There's so many different superheroes. What, just out of curiosity, what are some of the Marvel like books and universes that you really enjoy that you wanted to bring to this game the most?
Oh wow, tough question.
Right there.
I mean, I've been a Marvel fan since I was really young, so it was like everything. It was so cool to bring the Sinister Six on the table, because I've always, I mean, when I was a kid, of course, Peter Parker, Spider-Man was my hero, and I still read the Spider-Man comic books now that I'm over 50. So to bring anything Speedy related to the table was great. Maybe that's why, I mean, Norman Osborn has always been so scary to me, so that's why probably he's one of the scariest villain in the game. Because I always look at him as like the ultimate villain that can destroy your life, and that probably transfer a little bit in the design, because everybody now is telling me, oh, he's too hard to beat. Green Goblin is destroying us, and probably it came from my inner fear of Norman. But so that's part of it. Also, I mean, I grew up reading Claremont X-Men. So when they told me, oh, we are going to make season 2, and it's going to be X-Men, about the X-Men, I like jump on my chair, because I said, oh, I really want to do this. And it was so great, like, to make the Sentinels and Days of Future Past. That's another great story. I mean, also, Old Man Logan was so cool, because that's another incredible story about all the Wall Wastelanders things. Is amazing. I mean, Marvel is so. There are so many incredible characters and stories, and of course there is the whole MCU we all love and have seen. So also, okay, we can have Scarlet Witch and Vision, and it's, I mean, really, it's so hard, because I immensely love all the Marvel characters in the world, and I think that transpires a lot from the game design.
Yeah, and
Marvel characters out there for sure. And there's a lot of different stories, a lot of different people. I mean, I'm sure not everybody's going to get exactly what major superhero they want, but you can grab as many as you can. So it's good to hear that it's awesome to hear that you had this great background in it. But we should dig into the game and development, because I think a lot of people want to know that. Steve, you got a question of something about that Jay wanted to ask? I know.
Yeah. Jan had a question here. I think it kind of ties into it. So Marvel United, you've got a ton of different characters and villains and locations and all these things that mix together. And so Jan, the question is how do you manage to find the right amount of testing for such a deeply combinable game as Marvel United with so many expansions? Any tips for newbie designers on how to think about it?
Well, that's really not a task a single person could ever handle. Luckily, we are a team. I have 4 other people working with me, and we have a pretty big number of playtesters. So the real answer is you never make enough playtests. Something is going to slip through. It's almost impossible, especially in a really modular game like this. So yeah, sometimes there are things, oh, I wish we had more time to play test Reno more accurately, or I wish we figured out that Green Goblin was maybe a bit too difficult earlier. And there are some weird interactions sometimes when we try to do special things like Squirrel Girl, Adam Warlock, multiple men. They all have very unique designs, and of course, unique designs is like we test and we push the boundaries of the system. And sometimes you play safe, and you know that that character is going to work and is never going to be an issue for the game. Sometimes you want to just push a little bit the boundaries, because you want the players to sit at the table and be surprised and be excited about the gameplay or the effect of a location. I mean, Vormir is a great location. Thematically is perfectly accurate. On the other hand, the effect creates a lot of butterfly problems when you try to design other villains and you try to make like new stuff that was not there. I'm talking about like X-Men, for instance. We had this very cool design for Spiral as a villain, and that's, I think, cool. I'm very proud of the design. I think it's very enjoyable to play. on the other hand, it breaks so many game rules that I'm sure there is some weird combination of locations and heroes that might break that apart. And it's, I mean, we try to play test the most that we can. I think we have a playtester. We keep files, of course. We are, I think, over 3,000 games, something like that overall. Probably even more because I'm not the one keeping the count. But last time I asked, we were like over 3,000 and something by the end of the campaign. But that was like 1 year ago. So I mean, we haven't tested the game that much after, just to check a little after release things. But yeah, so.
Yeah,
You alone. Okay. Well, you are. I mean, if you want to play test other games from us,
I like that. I like that.
Not 3,000.
Are there any unique powers that you would have liked to have represented in the existing characters that you've created for either season 1 or season 2 that didn't really make the cut because of some weird mechanic or something that's on there?
haha. I mean, a lot. It's when you. There is a huge challenge in designing characters and villains for Marvel United, but with heroes is even worse. You only have really 10 cards. It's easy if you have to. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a bit easier if you have to build a deck of 40 cards, or if you can have a big dashboard with many powers unlockable and stuff like that. But the essence of Marvel United is that every hero is different from the others only for 10 cards. And like usually 6 or 7 of them don't even have any text on it. So you have like 3-4 cards plus the distribution of the icons below to feel the hero different. So what I usually did, what Eric did, what Ruger and Alexio do, is we choose one angle. We ask ourselves, okay, who is Iron Man for me? Who is Hulk for me? Who is Spider-Man for me? Who is Gambit for me? And we try to focus on that. And of course, like, I mean, Tony Stark has built 100 different armors, and there is not even a single armor or weapon mentioned in his 12 cards. But I try to focus on the man behind the mask and the man inside the armor. So, okay, who is Tony? Okay, he's the guy with a lot of resources that can come up helping the group and giving them the right assets at the right time. And yes, of course, he also brings some firepower on the table, but that's not the focus of our version of Iron Man. So yes, I'm missing all the equipments, all the weapons, all the different armors, but in 10 cards, I mean, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine for sure.
Some other heroes are a bit easier because maybe they don't have such a big range of possibilities, and still they are tough to. I mean, even simpler heroes like Jessica Jones. Who is Jessica Jones? Okay, she is a private eye, yes. So she's a very good investigator, yes. She's also a mother. She's also not such a good team player, but she's a great friend. I mean, there are so many. I mean, so many things that you might want to put in the character, and I mean, really, all of them. I always feel that something is left out, and on the other hand, what we try to do is I want to capture the essence of that character. Like, I mean, Spider-Man, he doesn't have the spider sense, which, I mean, as a Marvel fan, I'm offended by that. But on the other hand, Peter Parker, to me, has always been, from a great power comes great responsibility, and that part of being Spider-Man, I wanted that to be part of the design. And then you like have one special card left, and you give him web shooters because it's Spider-Man. And then your design space is over. So sometimes I'm happy that for a few characters we had alternate versions of the miniature, so I could like explore a little bit different versions of the character. I know that maybe for collectors is a bit boring, or for players is a bit boring, but for us sometimes it was like, okay, I can do a second Wolverine and do it a bit differently.
Okay. And in that same vein, when we talk about kind of the character representation, how we do that, there's also a lot that goes into it for the locations for those different for those 6 areas that you have on the board and how they shuffle. So since those locations also play that integral part of the United Design Space, how did the team determine what locations would be represented in the game?
That's even harder, because with location we kind of need some effect to be there. We need the heroes to be able to heal themselves, to draw cards sometimes. We need the heroes to be able to gain action tokens, not only through their special action. So we knew that when we designed some expansions and the seasons, we had to put some locations able to do that, also moving around. So it's kind of when you watch the list of the location and you see, oh, okay, we have the X-Men airplane. What's the name? It's the Blackbird.
The X-Jet, the Blackbird.
Yeah, the Blackbird. And you know that that's going to have the X-Men moving around, or I mean, the island of Krakoa is basically doing the same thing. So some are really easy. Some are needed. So okay, which of those 6 locations could give access to the heroes to punch tokens? Or maybe the Savage Land, because they go there. It's a hard life in the Savage Land. They get hurt, but they come back stronger. And then you get the effect. So you discard 1 card and you gain a movement and a fight token. And then, fortunately, there are a few left where you can try to be more coherent with what the location really does in the Marvel universe. So it's a matter of allotting slots to what you need in the game and what you can do for fun, let's say. So like I mean, some of them I mentioned Vormir. I think it's a great location in that sense. Even like, I don't know, the Daily Bugle, that okay, I go and find out the villain's plan. I expose the villain plan. I think that's very thematic. Or even simple things like the New York police that removes tags around. It's but that's how it all comes together. Plus, of course, we sit down at the table, play test, and maybe someone in the team has a very cool, nice, and different idea for a location, and then we try it.
So we've talked about kind of the characters. We talked about the space, a board, I guess you could say, in itself. But then now on top of that, we have the base game and all these expansions that came out. And each one of these included a variety of different like modes of play. You had like Days of Future Past. You've got the Sinister Six. When it came to creating these, how did your team approach this, the design for this? And what were the different aspects that were important to maintain while you were trying to create these new expansions that would still not like overload the actual game that you're creating? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you guys never ask easy questions. So
we go down, we bring it home.
So, well, I will. There is a difference between. I mean, we have what we call game modes, like the team mode, the supervillain mode, the solo mode. So those are designed to be their own experience. The real challenge is to make sure that they are mostly compatible with everything that exists in the regular playing mode. Okay. So we had the normal playing mode that was the first to be designed. And when we designed Marvel United playing mode, we had no idea that there was going to be a season 2, and we had no idea that we were going to put team play or one player as the villain in the game. So when we built the engine, that was not part of it. When we were told, oh, we are going to have season 2, it's going to be X-Men, come out with something new in terms of gameplay, it was both exciting but very frightening, because okay, what can we add? And we started exploring design space, like, why don't we have one player playing as the villain? Oh, that would be cool. How do we do it? How do we balance it? And yeah, at the end of the day, a few season 1 and even a few season 2 villains were turned out to not be compatible with this playing mode, because the way they were designed, like Canje disappears from the board, and if you can decide to keep him out of the board forever until the very last turn, you basically have won, and that makes for a very boring game. Or Electro has too much control, and he plays extra turns when landing on some threats. And again, I mean, it's very hard in Supervillain to avoid like auto win on turn 1 or 2 by the villain if he plays the cards right. So there are a few, or some villains don't have health, and the team mode is based on whoever damage more the villain. So how can you make Dormammu compatible with team mode? So there, our guideline was, if it doesn't work perfectly with this game mode, we leave that villain out. We leave that thing. With heroes, the goal was, let's have the players being able to play each and every hero they own. We don't want to have heroes to say, oh no, you can't play Adam Warlock in Supervillain because he's too strong. That we wanted to avoid at all costs, and we succeed. With villains, it was not always possible, but honestly, we did our best. We went over our limits to make some of them compatible, even if at the beginning it sounded impossible, but we did. So I'm proud of that. So that's for what we really call game modes. Then we have like game campaigns, like Phoenix 5, Days of Future Past, Nimrod, or the Infinity Gauntlet in season 1. Those are kind of easier to design because they work like a mini, I mean, it's not a legacy game, they are mini campaigns in a sort. So all you have to do is to take the basic way the game works and make the little tweaks that have let the players feel the story that is being told. Those are really enjoyable to me, because it's probably the thing I loved most while doing the design work, because it's so great. I mean, to me, games really tell stories, every game. So being able to design a game that has the potential to tell infinite stories by combination, but also when I was given the opportunity to have a few selected stories in the Marvel world and being able to really recreate that, that's a blast for a designer. It was really great. That's really not that difficult. Challenges are the third thing that we add to the game, and that's a different thing on its own, because the way we thought challenges is, okay, those are modification to the level of difficulty. Many of them makes the game harder, a few of them make the game easier, like Plan B or the school for the X-Men, the training cards. And what we wanted is, okay, let's have an addition to the game that is so interconnected, intertwined with the main mechanic of the game, that doesn't distract the players too much. Because we didn't, for instance, the Sentinels are a great challenge, but we never wanted the Sentinel to be the main villain. So the main villain should still be the main villain and not the Sentinel. The Sentinel is something that comes to your game, makes things way more complicated, but is not the main villain. Same with Secret Identity or even the Traitor challenge in Asgard. They are designed to be part of the experience, but not the core of the experience. In the way we saw it, should always be the villain. Each villain should feel like a different game. Each villain should feel like, okay, base rules are the same, but there is something so new, so different, so unique to this villain that you feel you are playing a different game, but you already know the rules, which was the main design goal.
And and with the villains, which villain was the most challenging to represent in your design?
Not hardest for your favorite because we know that's Green Goblin. But which was most challenging?
Well,
That's a great question.
Green Goblin could be, and the reason why I ask is because Green Goblin was. You said that it was a character that was terrifying to you, that you were afraid of, which
Yeah.
means that's fun to make because it's more. You know how Green Goblin works, and you have an idea in your head how that goes. But as you're given the green light for season 2, now here comes a new set of villains, right? So out of all of them, which one
many
was
more.
the one that really got you?
I mean, I don't remember. I think we designed like 40, 50 villains overall. Maybe it's even more. Sorry, but it's been more than a year and a half now. So I remember there were a lot. So actually, the most challenging are the most. I'm missing the right word in English. I mean, are the less unique ones.
Okay.
When you have great villains like Kingpin, Arcade, Dormammu, Kang, Hela, Loki, they are all unique. They are so unique. They have a story to tell, because the point is, every villain in Marvel United has its master plan, right? And the dashboard. So if the villain has a plan and you cannot understand the plan, I mean, yeah, Norman has a plan, Loki has a plan, Red Skull has a plan, and those are great villains. Those are great. Magneto has a plan. Those are great villains to bring to the table, because exactly as you said, you have an idea in your mind of what that villain is trying to achieve. But some of them have really boring plans, like I want to rob a bank and get rich. So that kind of villain, if they have interesting powers, let's take Electro. Electro, or I mean, can become interesting because he has interesting powers. And then you like, okay, maybe the plan is a bit boring, but the powers are interesting, so you focus the design on the powers and it still works very well. But when you have a villain, and I don't want to make names, but that it's not really clear to you, okay, what wants this character achieve in his life? Just, I mean, some they have basic plans like revenge. Lady Deathstrike, she wants revenge against Wolverine. Okay, it's kind of easy, and you can still deliver that because you focus the design on the revenge thing, and that's okay. But some of them really, I want to get rich robbing the banks, and my powers are I'm big and strong. That's challenging. That's challenging because all the villain can do is to go around and hit the heroes. And yeah, maybe you can pull it off once, like you have Vulture, you give him the spoils to steal and stuff, so you really make it like a haste game with him. But you can't do that for other villains, because otherwise you are just recycling stuff. And I mean, we tried to avoid to recycle stuff the more that we could. We try to make every villain, every hero really unique. Of course, it's a challenge. I don't know. Sometimes we might have missed the mark, but I think we did a good job overall.
Yeah. I want to change focus a little bit here, because we're talking about like all the characters we've been discussing here, but I also want to talk about power levels and balance in the game. So I think that's also very interesting, because we have heroes, for example, like maybe like Daredevil or like Silver Surfer, and like in the comic books they have very different power levels, and in the game itself they feel very different power. How did you go about approaching that from a design space, making sure that you've got the characters represented at the proper balance and power levels?
Oh, that was one of my firm points in design. I didn't want a game where all the heroes had, or the villains had the same power level. It will not have felt like Marvel. Yes, we have those very different power levels among heroes. We have Silver Surfer and we have Spider Ham. We have almost regular human people like Nick Fury, and we have super beings like Adam Warlock. And so actually we tried to make uh, each hero the right version of itself, with some general principle. Principle A: playing in easy mode, every hero and every team of heroes should be able to stand out against most villains. So even with the weakest heroes of the pool, I'm not going to say who they are, but a lot of people have spent time analyzing that. Even the weakest heroes in easy mode should be able to take on most of the villains by playing well together. And that's a great feeling, honestly, when you play with a team of heroes that is not that good and you still manage to win the game. It feels so great. On the other hand, we wanted that, I mean, heroes that are really strong, that the players felt that they were playing with a super powerhouse. We tried to give weak spots and weakness to each one of them. I mean, even Adam Warlock is not the perfect, or Silver Surfer, they are not the perfect hero to go against every villain. There are some villains they will really make kind of easy, and that's also linked to the personal choice of the players. How much do you want to be challenged in this game? I mean, it will be the same in the comic book. I mean, I can imagine, yeah. I don't want to pick against this always the usual, but I mean, okay, let's take a villain that usually is quite menacing, like Kingpin. Okay, you have to face Kingpin, and your heroes are Spider-Man, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and I don't know, the Black Cat. Okay, that's going to be an interesting match and pretty even. But of course, we are playing against Kingpin, and we are bringing at the table Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, Adam Warlock, and Captain Marvel. They are going to dispose of Kingpin pretty quickly, no matter how well does his schemes. I mean, they storm the building and take down everything. I mean, it's probably not the best approach, but anyway. So I think we try to be. I mean, it's not a simulation, of course. We again, it's impossible to make a perfect simulation with 12 cards. But I was not scared of having different power level heroes to be different power heroes in the game.
Sure. And I guess talking about the balance aspect of it as well, the I feel like in Marvel United, one of the things that stands out to me is the games often are very close, or there's a lot of tension in them. And like, oh man, the next turn I would have lost, or I somehow have to eke out this next damage. And I mean, there's one thing to talk about the power levels of the characters themselves. Another thing to talk about like the closeness of the games and how did that come about in the design aspect? Because I imagine that's definitely intentional here.
Yes, well, that I mean, here it's a huge kudos to Alexio Schneeberger and Roger Fred. That's mainly development, actually. That's that has something to do with like over 3,500 playtests done for the game. And yes, the game is built in a way that tends to lead to very close games, but without massive development work, that will not have happened. So, I mean, all I can say is they did a great job. I was involved, of course, but let's say my responsibility is mainly design and supervision, and their responsibility is mainly development. So all the credits goes to them here. You might want to interview one of them next time and ask them the question: how is it that you are so good at your job? So, well, I guess my credit is hiring very skilled people.
There you go. There you go. One of the criticisms I've heard of Marvel United is the heroes don't feel unique enough. I'm guessing you've probably seen comments or heard comments about that. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
I mean, I think I already replied. It's
Mhm.
10 cards.
Mhm.
It's a real challenge to make them feel. I mean, sometimes you can. I know designs like Legion, Multiple Man, Squirrel Girl, Kitty, and Lockheed. They are so unique that you really feel the uniqueness of that characters. And I understand that there are maybe some other characters that you say, okay, but what's the main difference between I don't know, Mockingbird and Black Widow? Yeah, true. I wish we had more design space to make it easier for the players to feel that. What we did, however, is I assure you that each hero is still a unique combination of icons and powers. If you play at the highest challenge levels, so you start removing the wilds and double wilds from the deck, you will feel that a little more. Mechanically, the wild and double wild card, they are unique to, they are the same for all heroes, and they are there because they are needed for scaling the difficulty of the game. But of course, in a 12 card deck, they kind of dilute the uniqueness of the powers, so you will see your powers a bit less. With season 2, we came out with the idea of starting end cards, and that helps a lot in delivering the uniqueness of the character. Unfortunately, we didn't come out with that idea in season 1, so I can't travel back in time. I wish I could. So maybe that was a missed opportunity. Unfortunately, working on season 1, I mean, the problem is season 1 was a huge challenge because we had to build the whole system, and that was already an enormous amount of work and design. And so a few things that we could have thought about, like starting power playing cards, or team mechanics, like we did with Fantastic Four or Alpha Flight. Those are ideas that were not around when we were working at season 1, and I wish they were, because it will have led to probably an even better game. But you can change the past. So so that's it. So I mean, I think with the limitation of 10 cards for hero, we did a pretty good job in trying to make every one of them unique. With a different limitation, it would have been easier, but that's all I have to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
would like
definitely feel
to.
that the characters are unique when I play it for sure. Like and I think the kind of proof of it that stood out to me was if I brought a certain combination of characters in a game and then changed just those characters out, kept everything else the same, the it felt very different, very different. Like especially like the obvious example I think is Drax. His Drax has a ton of punches and almost no heroic actions, for example. And if you play with him in a game and him removed it, you'll see the difference for sure. So
Yeah. Also, something that is often not looked so closely by players is the importance of the player order in the game. That's where most of the part of cooperations comes from, and I think that's very important. So heroes will feel different even with different teammates at the table, and you will see the difference that makes playing after Drax or before Drax, or with a different type of hitter like you cage the table. So it's yeah. Or Cannonball, for instance. I mean, Cannonball is a hitter with a lot of movements, and it plays really differently from from Drax or other types of hitters. I mean, Hulk is a hitter with area control. So, I mean, yeah, when we approach the character, we also try to figure out which is the role that the character will have in the overall game. So is this going to be a support character? Is this going to be a mostly heroic character? Is going to be a tank? Is going to be a damage dealer? I mean, I know I'm using a terminology that is from video games, but it kind of applies here too.
Everybody has their own like uniqueness to them. One of the things I really enjoyed watching how one moved to add two and some of the things you implemented there. I think one of my favorite things you implemented is allowing me to not only face Magneto, but be Magneto as well. I really thought those purple characters were amazing. And I hope going forward in the future, as this game continues to grow, more of that happens, because especially it worked in the X-Men game, because there's more often than not, using Magneto as an example, reading these comics and all these different story arcs, you had these characters moving, sometimes being villains to try to stop what Professor X is doing, or joining him because there's some force that they had to deal with. So that was really cool. And I'm sure that was probably one of the main things as you're starting doing the X-Men, you went, I got this great idea, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, it was already there in season one a little bit. We had Venom as both a hero and a villain, and I had a design for Loki as a hero that was rejected, unfortunately, but it was there. But the roster of season one did not allow that really so widely. But as you said, it was then the perfect thing to introduce as a new thing for season two and for the X-Men. So yeah, it was, that is a part that was there from the beginning, that some heroes could have their villain side, or some villains could have their hero side, and you can see it in Venom already. And I mean, too bad I was not able to bring a Loki hero to life. I still have the prototype card somewhere. So
there you go, everybody. Everyone who knows about season 3, there's just apparently some new
That's right.
content. So there you go.
So you included 3 of my favorite villains from the comics as when I was younger in season 2, and that sold me completely. Strife, Apocalypse, because Executioner's Song is one of my favorite comic lines. Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister. And once I saw those 3 in there, I was like, sold.
Yeah. I love Mr. Sinister, and yeah, that's another villain, very unique, with all the DNA stealing and stuff. You know, it's so much time ago that I've been designing this that it's hard. Yeah, I mean, most of my mind is on Cyberpunk now and on newer stuff. I'm doing that, of course, I can discuss. So it's really hard when you guys ask me about things that I designed like 2 years ago. Because now you mentioned Mr. Sinister. Yeah, that's a really cool villain.
Oh, that's so good. I know we're getting close to the end here, and we've been asking you a ton of questions. Is there anything you would like to say that we haven't asked you that you would like to really talk about, if it is inside Marvel United or even outside Marvel United, that you would like to talk about?
Well, outside Marvel United, give me 3 minutes to tell you how proud I am and we are of Cyberpunk 2077. We have the Kickstarter campaign coming next week, actually, and the same team that worked at the 2 seasons of United has been working then after we closed United at Cyberpunk. It's a totally different type of game. There is no cooperation there at all. It's a cutthroat area majority game with storytelling elements, but it still follows the principle of we want to have the players telling their own stories while playing the game, building their own story. And I'm so proud because it's the very first area control game where the areas you control are a living world that reacts to what the players do, and not just, okay, I go there, I occupy that, or I have the control, I bring my troops there, I fight your troops. But I mean, the people living in the area don't care about that, or they just I think that's a very fresh and interesting idea that we brought a lot of usually area control games don't have storytelling. It's just the first of them all, Risk, is I want to conquer the world. That's the only story you are telling in the game. Here I think we were able to successfully put a story into an area control and firefight and game. So I'm very, very proud of that. So I mean, if you're I know those are two totally different types of game, but if you feel that we have done a good job with Marvel United, give us a chance, have a look at Cyberpunk 2077, just because I know that the same passion, the same love, the same skills, the same endless hours of development and playtesting have been put also in this game, and I'm proud of Cyberpunk as much as I am of United.
I'll be checking out Cyberpunk for sure because I come from an RPG background, so we used to play some Cyberpunk back in the day. And if I had any game if I could still pull up my Sega Genesis, I'd be playing Cyberpunk on it because that game is amazing. I had a Sega Genesis. I even had a Master System when I was young.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. Does the game have a solo mode, or is it purely like 2 to X player?
Oh, that's the type of question I need to tell you. Follow the Kickstarter campaign, and you will find out the answer. The core box is a 2 to 4 player game.
There you go, Canje. You have to watch. You have to follow the Kickstarter to find out the solo mode.
I'm always on there. I am interested in. I'm looking for a futuristic style game. I always am. So I am interested in Cyberpunk. I wasn't able to play the video game because it was first person. I can't play first person games, but I am interested in the content and the lore of the system, especially since you said that there's a narrative and a storytelling aspect to an area control game. That gives me a lot of interest. I'm just looking to see like if it's. I live in an area where there is not. I don't have a large group of where I could say, okay, well, I can whip this out because I've got person number, person X that's able to play. So I'll follow I'm definitely going to follow the Kickstarter. If there's a solo mode, you have my interest. If there's not, I'll just be watching others as they play because I don't have that ability to just say,
sure.
I can play more.
I can promise it's going to be interesting anyway, solo mode or not. And
definitely.
And the game puts you in the shoes of a gang leader. So it's the same city as the video game, but we didn't want to recreate the experience of the video game. I mean, if you want to play the video game, just play the video game. I think it's true. Those are two related media, but so different, and it's impossible for a board game to give you the same experience of the video game, not even closer. So when I approach design of games with a video game license, I always try to do something that is in the world, consistent with the world, when you feel that it's totally coherent with what happens in the video games, and the world is there, but you are playing a different type of game. You are in a different role. I mean, V is going to be in the game, of course, but you are playing as the leader of the gang, trying to establish control over the district and reacting to whatever happens in the world, and I mean, kicking other gangs' ass with your amazing, incredible super weapons and stuff. Also, the game has an excellent combat system for this type of games. It's not winner takes it all. Usually, combat system in area control games are okay. We fight, whoever wins takes control, kills all your troops, forces you to retreat, and which is so great if you're the winner. It's a bummer if you're not.
That's true.
So we try to be coherent with the cyberpunk world, where it's not always you go into a firefight with the only main purpose of killing people, but maybe you have a secondary goal you want to accomplish. Maybe you are there just to retrieve information from that android, or maybe you are there just to kill that particular edge runner because you have a contract to do that. So you might end up losing a firefight in Cyberpunk and still getting more street creds than anyone else involved in the firefight, which is another trick for this type of game that I think is not so common, and I'm so proud of. I mean, sorry if I have styled 5 minutes. I've stolen 5 minutes.
Fine.
No,
The floor was yours,
No,
man.
that's good.
Yeah, talk about
I
it.
know we're
Talk
getting
about it.
close to the end. Steve, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, I was going to kind of wrap it up, and that kind of tied into one of the rapid questions was what do you want to plug and where can people find you? So that kind of tied right into that. So I do want to specifically thank you for your I see your presence on Board Game Geek on the Marvel United forums a lot, answering a lot of questions. So it's really great to have one of the designers out there to answer a lot of those questions. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I feel the fan deserve that. I actually I enjoy doing that. Sometimes I can't answer immediately because I'm busy or because I need to ask my developer because I don't really know the answer. Because sometimes you make the rules, but all the development is done by them, and some very, I mean, on the easiest question I know it immediately. Sometimes the people come out with very tricky question, and okay, I'm not sure about this, I need to ask.
Yep.
But yeah, you can reach me there. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter. I don't have other social media.
And is the word out? I don't know if it's out. If it's the release date for the Kickstarter for Cyberpunk, has that been announced yet or not at all?
It's June 21st, if I'm not wrong. So we are very close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's next Tuesday. Yeah. So
right
three days from now. So it's coming. It's coming soon. You will know soon.
Great.
Excellent. Cool. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. Any other final questions, guys? You guys good?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time. This was awesome.
Thanks to you. It was a pleasure.
Excellent.
Good to meet you.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you at the next stop. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.